I was meeting my birth mother for the first time at a coffee shop in Denver. She'd agreed to meet after I found her through DNA testing. Said she'd tell me my origin story, answer my questions. I expected a love story, a young couple, maybe a difficult choice about adoption. Instead, she looked at me across the table and said, "You need to understand something. I didn't choose to get pregnant with you. I was raped." Everything stopped. My name is Elizabeth Morgan. I'm 46 years old. I live in Chicago, Illinois. I was adopted at birth in 1977 by wonderful parents, George and Martha Morgan. They raised me with love in a stable home outside Milwaukee. I always knew I was adopted. It was never a secret. "Your birth mother loved you very much," Mom always told me. "She made an adoption plan because she wanted you to have a better life." I accepted that story, never felt a strong need to search for my birth mother. My adoptive parents were my real parents in every way that mattered. But in 2022, my daughter convinced me to take an ancestry DNA test for Christmas. "Just for fun, Mom. See your ethnicity." I did it to make her happy. The results came in February 2023. Ethnicity, 64% Irish, 24% German, 12% Scandinavian. Made sense. My adoptive family was Irish-German. Then I looked at DNA matches. First match, Helen O'Connor, mother, parent-child relationship. My birth mother had taken a DNA test too. I stared at her profile. Helen O'Connor, age 67, location Denver, Colorado. She'd left her profile open for contact. Her profile description said, "Searching for the daughter I gave up in 1977. If you're reading this, I never stopped thinking about you." I sent her a message. Helen responded within an hour. "Elizabeth, yes, I'm your birth mother. I've been waiting for this message for 46 years. Can we meet? I'll fly to Chicago, or you can come to Denver, whatever you're comfortable with. There are things I need to tell you, things you deserve to know." Helen. We met in Denver 3 weeks later. I flew in on a Friday morning. She picked me up at the airport. I recognized her immediately. I had her face, her eyes, her hair color. We hugged awkwardly, then drove to a quiet coffee shop. "Thank you for meeting me," I said once we sat down. "Thank you for reaching out. I've hoped for this moment for so long." Helen's hands were shaking. "But I need to be honest with you about something difficult, about how you were conceived." "Okay." I was 17 in 1976. I was a senior in high school in Denver. On October 15th, 1976, I went to a party with friends. I could tell where this was going. My stomach tightened. A man at the party offered me a drink. I took it. I remember having one drink. Then I don't remember anything else until I woke up the next morning in a stranger's apartment, alone. My clothes were torn. I knew something terrible had happened. "You were assaulted?" "Yes. I went to the hospital. They did a rape kit, but I couldn't identify who did it. I didn't remember his face, didn't know his name. The police investigated but never found him. I'm so sorry. 6 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. From the rape, with you." Helen told me everything. When she discovered she was pregnant, her options were limited. This was 1976. Abortion was legal. Roe v. Wade had been decided in 1973. But Helen was Catholic. Her family was deeply religious. "I couldn't have an abortion," Helen said. "My faith wouldn't let me. But I also couldn't raise you. I was 17, still in high school, the child of a rape." "What did your family say?" "They were horrified. My father wanted me to get an abortion anyway. My mother wanted me to hide the pregnancy and give you up quietly. They sent me to a home for unwed mothers. I lived there from December 1976 until you were born in July 1977. Did you ever want to keep me?" Helen's eyes filled with tears. "Every day. But everyone told me it was impossible. How could I look at you every day and not see the rape? How could you grow up knowing you were the result of violence? Everyone said adoption was the kindest choice for both of us. So you gave me up." "Yes. I held you for 1 hour after birth. Then I signed the papers. Closed adoption. No contact. I thought I'd never see you again. Did you ever try to find me?" No, I was too afraid. Afraid you'd hate me for giving you up. Afraid you'd be damaged by knowing how you were conceived. Afraid I'd ruin your life by appearing. I don't hate you. You should. I gave you up. I could have fought to keep you. I chose not to. You were 17. You'd been raped. You did what you could survive. Helen broke down crying. I've spent 46 years feeling guilty, wondering if I made the right choice, wondering if you were okay, if you had a good life, if you hated me. I had a wonderful life. My adoptive parents were amazing. They gave me everything. I don't hate you. I understand. After Helen stopped crying, I asked the question I'd been afraid to ask. Do you know who my biological father is? The man who assaulted you? No. I never knew his name. Never saw his face clearly. The police investigation went nowhere. Could we find him now, through DNA testing? Helen looked uncomfortable. Do you want to find him? I don't know. Part of me is curious, but part of me doesn't want to know. He's a rapist. Why would I want to meet a rapist? You wouldn't, trust me. But he's still half my DNA, half my medical history, my children's grandfather, biologically. Do you have children? Yes, 2 daughters, ages 12 and 14. Helen's face lit up. I have grandchildren. Yes, they'd like to meet you, if you're willing. I'd love that. We talked for hours about my life, her life, the 46 years we'd missed. Eventually, I asked again, what if we could find him through DNA? Would you want to know? No. I've spent 46 years trying to forget that night. I don't want to know who he is. I don't want him to have any connection to you or your daughters. But what if he did it to other women? What if there are other children like me out there? Helen was quiet for a long time. Then maybe we have a responsibility to find out. Not for me, but for them. I convinced Helen to work with a genetic genealogist. We uploaded my DNA to GEDmatch, looked for paternal matches, found several second and third cousins. The genealogist, Dr. Sarah Chen, built a family tree, narrowed it down to 3 possible candidates who would have been in Denver in October 1976. One of them, Robert Walsh, had died in 2015. No DNA available. One, James Mitchell, was in a nursing home with dementia, couldn't consent to testing. The third, Thomas Peterson, was alive and living in Boulder, Colorado. Should we contact him? Dr. Chen asked. And say what? Helen said. We think you raped someone 46 years ago? We could ask for a DNA sample without telling him why. We thought about it, debated it, finally decided not to pursue it. Some answers aren't worth having, I told Helen. I don't need to know who he is. You're my family. My adoptive parents are my family. My children are my family. He's just biology. Helen squeezed my hand. Thank you for understanding, for not hating me. You're my birth mother. You survived something terrible and still brought me into the world. I could never hate you. Helen and I have a relationship now. We talk every week. She's met my daughters. They call her Grandma Helen. I've told my daughters the truth about how I was conceived. They're old enough to understand. They know their grandmother survived trauma and made a difficult choice. They know I'm the product of a crime, but they also know I'm the product of Helen's strength, her courage, her decision to carry me to term despite everything. DNA testing gave me answers I didn't expect. A story that's harder than I imagined, but it also gave me Helen, and that's worth everything. Were you conceived through assault? Have you reunited with a birth parent who experienced trauma? Share your story in the comments if you're comfortable. Subscribe for more true stories about DNA discoveries, difficult truths, and the complicated reality of adoption. New stories every week. Thanks for listening.